The Underdog Research channel. You're watching Fiercely Hoppy, the Hoppy Report, and this is a forensic investigation. For those who don't know me, let me give you a little introduction to myself. I'm a cyber investigator, I'm a forensic expert, and a digital forensic scientist, and I put all that together to research technologies and find out the real and the fake. I put research over the hype, and today we're going to do exactly that with a meme coin called Hoppy. Now, what is this about? Let's talk about it. I saw recently a post that was circulated widely and caused great damage to Hoppy's reputation. It was a post that purported to show that Hoppy was denied by Kraken and also OKX Exchange. And they posted, however, a image of an email which showed the same thing. Well, today, I want to determine whether or not that was real or fake so that you, as the person who may be interested in this project, can get the real information and not just what people say. We want to see facts over fiction. We want to see real over fake. So I'm going to do that exactly for you. So let's take a look at what I can do and share it with you. We're going to have a full forensic and cyber investigation, and I'm going to step you through step by step to find out the truth over the lies. So let's get started with the forensic investigation of Hoppy Crypto. Let's go. On my last research video, Hoppy, How Strong is the Frog Army? The Hoppy Report number 4, I gave you a sentiment analysis of Hoppy, the strengths and its weaknesses, and I went through it and gave you data that you could use to help promote this project or support this project if you so chose to, based on their strengths and weaknesses. But in that report, I also brought up something called FUD, a FUD analysis. And this FUD analysis is based on the information I told you about. I told you about this post, and I brought up 2 pictures, which I'll bring up to you in a moment. And I told you that I would investigate this and get back to you, that I wanted to focus only on the Hoppy sentiment so you could have this data and move forward. Well, I conducted my investigation and my findings are quite shocking, and I'm going to share that with you today. So follow along with me. I'm going to break it down in an easy to understandable way, and I'm going to step by step go through it. We're not going to be fast. We're going to do this professionally. This is what I do, and I like to make sure that people can see it and make sure that you share this information. And if you like this type of information, folks, join my members platform. Here I teach you from the beginning to advanced different manners, a way that I approach the market by getting research over hype. I also teach you concepts and discussions that no one else is doing. So I can do that for you. But for now, let's check out this forensic investigation. So as we look at it, let's start with the video where I found the evidence. Here we go. Let me show you where I got this information from to start this whole investigation. So Hoppy here, this is a repost, but I want you to see the original post was reposted from Hoppy's site. Now, when you go to Hoppy's site, I want you to go to the area where the post was made about the announcement about Hoppy Racing, which will be found here. Now, simply go to this, click on the post. Once you're at the post, just see this little icon here on the right? That's the hidden replies, if you didn't know. This post currently has going on 40,000 views. Very good reception. But that's not the point of this conversation. So click on that. And now this is the hidden replies that people who responded to Hoppy, what Hoppy blocked. Now, I want you to pay attention to this one right here. I will address these other posts, but this is the most important. Now, this one shows sensitive content, it states, but you press the button, and when you click on it, you will see the post. The poster, also, this was done on January 7th, 2025 at 10:37 a.m. Now, it has low views here on the Hoppy ecosystem on X, but it has a high amount of visibility where it was also posted on CoinMarketCap, which is why I'm here to discuss it. This post it says Kraken listing and update on your application. And I'll read this later on, but as you read the bottom, it purports to show a attempt by Hoppy to list on Kraken and a rejection. And that is why we need to do this examination today and investigate those claims. All right. So we just saw what we needed to see to tell you where the information came from. See, it's important that we have that down. We need to know sources. I'll continue to say it. Now, this source came from the Twitter page, formerly known as, but now it's called X account, on Hoppy site, on their page. And this is a part of their ecosystem, but it spread from there to CoinMarketCap and cause significant damage, and that way that it would cause the project to go down and people lose confidence. But why? And is it real or fake? Well, who did it? Let's start with that. So one of the individuals that I saw that posted this was this person right here, AC12345. Now, I took a look at their post, and as I showed you in a previous video segment, I looked at their post, and in the previous video I told you as well, and I looked at their profile on X, and it looks like they don't make any original posts, and their whole category of things that they do is a repost of everyone else. Now, that was strange to me. However, I don't know their posting habits. So I looked at their media to see what type of media they had. And of all their media, there was nothing related to Hoppy other than one post, which was this post here. So it led me to believe that it's possible that someone is using this account as a posting account for whatever they want to post for or against to keep their identity private while they post these things. But the activity on the actual site didn't raise suspicions to me other than the fact that I believe that this account isn't very personal. It's used for a specific purpose, which is going to be important as we do our investigation. Why? Why now? Why the post? And is there any truth to it? We still have to find that out. So let's keep going. So as I showed you on the post, this is what we saw. We saw this, and I'm going to start the FUD analysis of this. And FUD is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And what the post said is that this particular project was not going to be listed on Kraken. And that's what caused the damage. Now, this is the post that was made by this individual or someone using this account. And then this was the post replies. Now, if you notice, this was all hidden by Hoppy, and we'll talk about that too. This is the things that were said. Now, we want to do the first part of the investigation, and we're going to step into it right now. So, folks, if you're not ready, get yourself comfortable. Get you something to drink. Lay back and watch as Underdog Research Channel explores the forensic and cyber investigation of this email and image to determine whether or not it's real or it's fake. Let's get started. So going into this, let's check out what was said in this image, which caused all this damage and all this conversation about Hoppy being rejected. I want to start off with showing you what I see. I recognize that we are on an online platform, and I have forensic tools that you don't have available to you. And the screen may have different display sizes. So I thought it'd be good for you to get the visual, to be in my seat, the way I see what's going on with this conversation. I think it's important to actually see a part of the process so you know what's happening. So what you see on the front of your computer screen is the email, and it might be small right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to increase the size of it. And recognizing that we are going to spend our time looking at the very top for right now. That's the most important part for us at this moment. So we're going to stop it right about there. Now, what we lost by putting this large display, we lost the fact that it says Kraken listings and update on your application. That's what we lost. But that's okay. I want you to know that's okay. I want us to verify a little bit of information before we get started. We have to have a standard. We have something called exemplars, and that is a standard in which you go by if you're in a forensic world. So we need a standard. So I want you to see what is being looked at to be investigated versus what is the standard. What we're going to be investigating first. So let's look at what we have in front of us. We see this says Kraken asset, and we can assume that it's going to say Kraken asset listings. Then we see that we have the icons, and then we go down to the email. So far, out the cursory look, everything looks legit. We have from Kraken asset listings, we have replied to, we have a marked out marker of who it was sent to, and then we have the date, January 3rd, 2025 at 4:38 a.m. We see that standard encryption, TLS, and it says hi and it says the person's name, but that's blacked out as well. So I wanted just to share with you. Now, throughout this investigation, we're going to spend a lot of time right here in this spot, but we're going to stay right here in this spot. So I'm bring it out again. I want you just to see, make sure. Now, just some cursory notes. I noticed that they here at the top that they save this as a favorite, and if we go out even further, we can see a time code. We can see that this is assumed to be on a cell phone because it wouldn't have a display of the time if it was on a computer, 1018. And then we see here their Wi-Fi and their power, and we have all that right here. So we have signal, Wi-Fi, power. Looks like it's a Gmail account based on the format, organization, and structure. So from a cursory view, this looks normal. But everything's not what it seems. And that's what we're going to determine. If this is correct, we read the email. Let's read this really quickly because this is what was posted to the Hoppy site. And this is what people were seeing. And this is what went out to CoinMarketCap and other social media sites. And let me read it to you. Hi, blacked out, redacted name. Thanks again for taking the time to complete our asset listing application form and for your interest in getting Hoppy listed on Kraken. Unfortunately, after reviewing your application, we have decided not to move forward with your listing at this time. We know this news is disappointing, but we encourage you to reapply 6 months from now via the same asset listing application form. Now, going to that again, we know when I bring this back out again, we see that this was sent on January the 3rd of 2025 at 4:38 a.m. And we can assume that it was screenshotted, and we can see right here, this little icon here shows that there's other pictures in their mobile phone. It was screenshotted at 10:18 a.m. from their mobile phone. And so the post that we are looking at is based on this. So based on this, this is what the conversation will be about. And let's go through the investigation further. So let me just break it down to you. That was the foundations and of the forensic investigation. Now we're about to roll into what you need to see. So as we do a forensic investigation, I need you to understand something. As a digital forensic scientist, a person who does this for a living, you look at data and you have to start with no bias. I have no bias. I don't know whether or not this question document, the image is real or fake. And I don't want to know. I want to go through and find things about that document that are verifiable to let that information lead me to a conclusion of whether or not there has been manipulation, if it's real or fake. Now, the word fake and real is very important here because we oftentimes interchange these meanings, and especially today in the digital age. So let me be very, very clear. Something can be real and still be fake. For example, you can have a purse, right? And let's say that purse is some type of Gucci purse. But you could go to some place that's a little shady and buy a fake Gucci purse. The purse is real, but the brand is fake. Or you could say that you have a box and that something inside of it is that Gucci purse, and you give the person the box, and when they open it, it's empty. Not only is that not truthful, but that's fake. There was nothing in there. So I want you to understand those concepts of interchanging real and fake. Something can be real, yet the context within it is fake. This is disinformation, cyber warfare. That is where we're at with technology. So my job now is to walk through the forensic aspect to show you some things. This is what we're going to do. Now let's look through the image, and I broke down the image and I categorized all the things we'll be looking at today. And as we look at these things, we're going to talk about them, and then we're going to discover together whether or not this email is real or fake. Now let's start at the top. I have numbered in white letters from 1 to 8 all the things that were shown in the image that we're going to verify forensically and separately cyber investigation of those things. And then at the right, I've created a margin that tells you what each one of these items are. Some items are in red and yellow. Right now, don't worry about the colors. Just want you to understand that they're coordinated between what you see on the left-hand side of your screen in white numbers to the right-hand side. So for example, number 1 is the customized from name. So this is who the email's from. Number 2 is the uncustomizable air tables. And we'll talk about that. What's that mean about uncustomizable? 3, the uncustomizable air table name. And that's the subdomain for this who it's from, the domain. And then 4, we have the reply to. And then 5, we have the notable discrepancies that I noticed, but we'll look into that. Number 6 is the to field. So who's the email to? Number 7 is the notable date, which I need you to pay attention to, January 3rd, 2025 at 4:38 a.m. That's 2025. So this is a recent email. And then we have 8 at the very top left. That is the K for Kraken. So these are the individual characteristics that we will be examining today, both forensically and also separately the cyber portion. And I'll tell you which one we're doing at which time. So let's go through and let's start this investigation forensically. Now we need something to compare it to. Now, why do we need something to compare it to? So in order for me to do a forensic examination in anything, I need an example of something to compare it to, which is called forensically an exemplar. And then the question evidence is the email that we're looking at right now in the screenshot. So I have the question evidence and I have the exemplar. Basically, something to compare to that. And so what I needed to do is find an email from Kraken, and I just so happen to have some. And so we're going to go through that and show you what I'll be comparing this to in order to assist me in my evaluation of whether or not this is real or fake. Did Hoppy get a letter from Kraken, a major exchange, that stated that they were rejected? That's the only question I care about, but we're going to find out through this means. So let's keep started and let's look at what happened with the comparators. Now let's go to part 2 of the investigation. I first showed you the evidence that was in question. That was the email that was posted as a screenshot from someone's phone onto Hoppy's site on X, aka formerly known as Twitter. This was hidden, and then I located on Hoppy's website. Now, we saw the question evidence. In order for me to investigate further, I also need to have an exemplar, which I mentioned previously. And an exemplar is a forensic term that describes a comparison tool. In order for me to look at something that I have never seen before, I need something to compare it to, whether there was other emails from them. Well, since I don't have any other emails from them, I'm going to use my own as an exemplar. And so what you'll see here is a quick review of any emails from one of my email accounts that Kraken sent me messages. So I chose one of my email accounts and I specifically chose a Gmail because they had a Gmail. So I wanted to make sure that the format was the same. And I checked it on my phone as well to see if I could look at that as well. And everything matched up. So I want to look at Gmail. So going back, I found over 22 examples. So let's scroll through some of these examples. So going to the very bottom, it shows me that I have one as early here as 1/30/2023 at the earliest, and one as late as January the 7th of 2025. So I have 2 years of data. So I have in that enough exemplars to do a comparison analysis. And I'll go through the next step with you, but I just want to show you what we're going to use as a comparison tool as we break down this information. All right, so you heard it right there. Let's keep talking about it. So now I've set the foundations so I can start the investigation, and we're about to do just that. I have showed you the evidence that is in question, the image that was placed on Hoppy's site, that was placed on CoinMarketCap, that caused Hoppy to have a significant damage in the reputation and things that were said. And I have also showed you what I'm comparing it to. 22 emails from Kraken over a 2-year period, the oldest one being January 2023. The newest one being January 2025. Similar in date range and time as the email of Hoppy, which was January the 3rd of 2025. And now that I've set the foundation, we're about to do the first evaluation. Is the image real? Only way I can find that out is through image forensics. Now, why does that work? Because the human eyes can only see so much, but I can use forensic tools to determine if there's been some type of changes, have there been any discrepancies from a forensic standpoint, because the computer tools allow me to notice things that are out of place. Now, I'm not going to go through all those details because that's not the purpose of this video, but I will go through some of the small details so you can see it yourself. So I'm going to look at the image. What is very hard to do is to both do something fake and write things that are fake, as well as trick forensic tools. People are not really good at details, and there's always something missing, always a thread that I can pull at to determine the validity of this image. So let's do that right now. I want to now show you some of the things I can look for. Remember I said earlier, you can't do both. You can't have a perfect image as well as have information that you type out in a lie. Because if you do, it increases the chances of being discovered. See, you can fake something and it can be real. But in part of determining whether it's real or fake is to really dig deep and to look beyond the human capabilities. So this is a forensic tool I'm going to use, and I'm just going to do a few simple things I want you to see. So let me just first increase the size of this. Again, we know that the top is the evidence that's being examined, the same image that was online, that was on Hoppy's site. And I want you just to see a couple of things. Now, I'm not going to go into details about exactly all the techniques I want to use, but I just want you to see a couple of things I think you might find interesting. So I'm going to just look and reflect some of the light here. Now, as I reflect some of the light, I can change different aspects and things become visible that weren't visible to the human eye. I can look at areas that were covered. And this tells me a lot already. Now, I told you I'm a forensic scientist, so this is something I've had years of training to look at. Now, some of the things I just want you to note, again, this is me looking for what's beneath the surface, is I'm looking for discrepancies. I have an exemplar, which is taken from my own email. And so I know what I should be looking at. I know this is a Gmail. And so this is just a few techniques. So let me just bring to your attention a few things, I can notice. can remove this black mark that you see here underneath the surface and see what name it's revealed. I can look at discrepancies about the images. And I'm going to tell you this from the standpoint as it is right now in the investigation, nothing serious is jumping out to me. Now, yes, there are discrepancies I'm seeing in certain areas, but I have to do further examination. So I just wanted you to see that when people try to do certain things, remember there's areas in forensics that are not able to be seen by the human eye, but with a little bit of work, you can see a few things. Now, some of you are probably noticing that some of these areas are already starting to appear. And right here around this area that was covered up. Again, you have to be careful about what you think you can't be seen, because a lot of things can be seen. So that's it. I just want to share that with you. I won't go into detail. Overall, after I conducted my analysis using forensics tools, I found that this is a real email. And I didn't see anything out of place. Forensically, looked legit. However, we got to go further. Okay, we got to go further. So you saw what I just did. Applied some various image forensic techniques, and I shared just a little clip of it. And I want you to know I applied these techniques, and my discovery is that it's a real email. Now, some of you would stop there, and that would be a mistake. I told you at the very beginning that something can be real and still be fictitious. I gave you the example of the purse. We understand this concept. We hear the word knockoffs all the time. So just because something purports to be real, just because someone says it's real, just because it may look real, you have to look underneath the surface. Because real, everything will substantiate it being real. But false, there will be discrepancies likely. And that's what's next. So my image forensics aspect is complete. According to my forensic analysis, the email is real. But now we need to look at the context, the innards, the inside of that email. Was the information stated inside it real? So now we're switching to the cyber investigation side of this. And let's go do that now and find out if it's real or not. So we're going back to where we're at with this email. The image that was placed on Hoppy's site, the image that was hidden from Hoppy's site, the image that was placed and circulated online. And it's very important to note those 8 things I showed you here. Now we're going to go through each of these one by one. But first, I need you to note something. This is very important to note. Today's investigation is about Kraken. And the narrative that was passed was about Kraken, OKX, and other major exchanges generally. And I want you to know at this point, from my investigation into it, there was never, ever any evidence stated about OKX. It changed because the proximity in which people believed that Hoppy was going to list on OKX, because they showed Hoppy in a little race car with the checkered flags. And they, the community and others, made assumptions about OKX. But if you go back to the beginning, as I did, and investigated, the provenance, that means where it began, is actually the Kraken statement, which was posted on January the 3rd. And this was created before the announcement that came out later on that Hoppy Racing was the actual post. The person who posted this, hosted this, and had this created before the Hoppy Racing narrative completely came out. Because it was January 3rd where the email says, on the image about Kraken, but it was after January 3rd where they made this post onto Hoppy's page. Now that's going to be important. So let's keep going and look at this. So I told you earlier, nothing will completely match if there's any fake narrative. So let's break down these 8 items and let's do the cyber investigation. So first, number 1 and 2. We look at 1 and 2. We see that number 1 on the question evidence, which is the image posted, it shows 1 Kraken asset listing, open parentheses, via Airtable. And we'll talk about what that means in a second. And then 2, the subdomain for this email shows as no reply plus automation at airtableemail.com. Now, this is going to be important. What is Airtable? So Airtable is a cloud-based platform that enables users to create custom applications without extensive coding, facilitating efficient data management and collaboration. It combines the functionality of spreadsheets and databases, allowing teams to organize information, automate workflows, and integrate with various services. Automations, users can set up automations to streamline repetitive tasks, such as, I highlighted it right there with green with a dot, sending notifications or updating records on specific triggers. The source of that is Airtable. So as you see here, Airtable is the service that sent this email purportedly that Kraken denied and rejected Hoppy from a listing. By nature of what it's saying, must be using Airtable. So let's go through that. So going further, Airtable, off of their source, you will find that it says, which plans allow automation to send emails to non-Airtable users? And it says non-Airtable users can only receive automated emails from automation actions of paid plan workspaces. Currently, workspaces on the free plan are limited to only emailing collaborators with verified emails. However, unlike the send email action with open parentheses via Airtable, free users can use Gmail to send email or Outlook to send email actions to send emails to non-contributors. Oh, we warming up. We starting to warm up. So now we know a few more things. If you recall, as it shows you there, the question evidence says that via Airtable is where it's from. It shows Kraken asset listing. You can see it right there. And number 2, it has a reply to Airtable email. And now we know something, folks. We know, according to Airtable's own records, that anytime it has open parentheses via Airtable, it's coming from a verified email and is using the paid platform. So not the free platform. So now we not only know that the email was real, but it came from a real source because the real source contains all the information that Airtable says it will have. But does that mean that the information inside is real? And does that mean Kraken is the one that sent this to Hoppy or the recipient that says they received it? Well, let's find out. As we look at this particular post, let's note a few more things. Going from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that I designated, the same areas I showed you here, the bottom portion of the email, we also note a few things. 1, number 3 is the subdomain, no reply plus automations at airtableemail.com. Remember that, folks. That may be important. Number 4, reply to, which is the listing at symbol. So that's is the reply to box. Number 5 is the reply to at kraken.com. So in that same reply to, it shows it's from Kraken and it shows it's from the listing. Well, that should make it legitimate, right? Or does it? And then number 6, I want you to pay attention. They redacted the name that was there by putting a black mark so we couldn't see it. But why? And then number 7, date January 3rd, 2025 at 4:38 a.m. Now, I want you to notice this portion of the forensic investigation so far. I mean, if you think about it, doesn't that make it seem more legitimate? You have an email that's dated from January 3rd, 2025 at 4:38 a.m. It's addressed to someone, but we don't know who that person is. They blacked it out so we can't see it, but maybe they did it for privacy, right? We can assume that could be the reason. And then at the top, it shows that it's from Kraken Listing. It shows it's a real email. It's coming from Airtable, a professional site. Looks legitimate, and it addresses Hoppy. It even talks about the reply to listing at kraken.com. For all intents and purposes, it looks real. Looks real enough to be on the internet, and looks real enough for people to talk about on CoinMarketCap. But everything's not what it seems. Let's keep going. So we look further and we want to find out more. So with those areas, let's talk about what Airtable tells us. According to Airtable, branding from emails sent using send email action, can you remove it, is asked in the frequently asked questions. So I want to make sure you understand. Look at the top at number 3. Can you remove that? Or go even further. Look at the top at number 2, via Airtable. So the question being asked is, can you remove that icon from Airtable when you send an email? And the answer on number 1 is this. It isn't currently possible to remove the Airtable branding or add your own custom branding to emails sent via send email action. So we're finding out something already. So the reason they didn't remove that from it, because they couldn't. If they're going to use the Airtable, they could make it say Kraken, whoever's using it, whether it's Kraken or whoever else, but it has to say in the email Airtable. And since the person didn't think to remove that, then it still had what it was defaulted to have. Again, does that tell us whether it's real or not? No, we still don't know. Does Kraken use Airtable? But we do know that it wasn't changed. And that's going to be important to the next point. So next we see that it has a second question. Which plans allow this automation to send emails to non-Airtable users? And here what it says in number 2. Non-users can only receive automated emails from this automation action on the paid plan workspaces. So now we know that it came from a paid table. Someone has paid for this with some type of form of currency. Now it says currently workspaces on the free plan are limited to only emailing collaborators with verified emails. Now we know that not only was it from a paid plan, but the person who received this had a verified email with Airtable because you wouldn't be able to receive the email. And then it says, however, unlike the send email action with via Airtable, free users can only use Gmail to send emails or Outlook to send email actions, to send emails to non-collaborators. Oh, whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute, folks. Didn't we see that it said from this email via Airtable? So does that mean, based on Airtable's own instructions, that the person has a paid plan? And didn't they say that unless they had a non-paid plan, it wouldn't say Airtable? So we are learning more and more. Again, now we know that someone not only made this email, but they had a verified email account. So that means that there's a record of who made this email and who made these statements, and also if it actually came from Kraken. But we're going to keep going. So we see this from Airtable, and we now have that question, and we know that it's going to say via Airtable, and now we know that it came from a verified plan. But I want to go a step further. So let's take a look at this even deeper. The question is, Since we look at number 3 and we can see that number 3 shows a subdomain of that email saying no reply plus automations at Airtable email, where's that come from? Well, going back to this, it tells us. I want you to check out number 3 on here. On number 3, it says, what is the sender email address? And listen to what it says. It says, all email messages will show up as from Airtable automations. And guess where it's at? No reply plus automations at airtableemail.com. However, you can specify a custom from name, a customized reply to email address. These can be customized the from name via Airtable. So as they said, what could not be changed if you use this service is number 3. It all emails match. No reply plus automations.airtable, which is stated here right in their documentations at number 3, the exact same matching information. They can customize the parts on number 4, and they can customize the parts on number 3, 5, 6, 7 even. So they can customize it all. So why? Does this mean that this is real, that Kraken wrote them? So I started thinking about it. Kraken's quite a large company. Would Kraken want to keep Airtable on their correspondences to all their millions of customers? Seemed like they would want to have their own protocol, their own customized domain name. Instead of Airtable, wouldn't it say Kraken? Well, let's find out. So I took a look and I found an article. This is August 6, 2024, so it's recent. This is what it says. It says, Kraken's generative AI tool for customer service helping Optimus Energy. According to this article, Tech UK's AI adoption collection of case studies showcases examples of how organizations are putting AI into action, either through the adoption of AI models within the organizations or by developing AI tools that can be leveraged by others. By shining a light on these use cases, Tech UK hopes to demonstrate examples of the best practice for across sectors and for organizations of all sizes. Kraken is the technology platform behind Octopus Energy. Check this part out, folks. Contracted to serve 54 million customer accounts across the globe, and that is Kraken. 54 million. But you mean to tell me that Kraken uses Airtable and they can't even customize their own name to say Kraken on the domain or the subdomain? That seems a little odd. So I want to show you more of this article to find out, does Kraken use Airtable? Does this article says it uses AI? Well, let's find out what they use. Here we go. So let's take a look at what that article says. Specifically, this article is as recent as August the 6th, 2024. Kraken's generative AI tool for customer service helping Octopus Energy. Same article I just read. Magic Ink is Kraken's generative AI tool for customer service. Built on GPT-like models, customer service staff can use this tool to summarize all interactions with the customer. Magic Ink is fed continuous context around customer history and product specifications to enable customer service staff to efficiently deliver world-class service to its customers. And oh, here it goes. Magic Ink is integrated. Don't you love that word? Integrated into the foundation of Kraken platform. But does it send emails? Oh, Lord have mercy. Number 4, assisted by Magic Ink. Our team has been able to deliver improved customer service and quickly customer service response times. Around 35% of the customer emails are currently written with the assistance of this tool, receiving higher customer satisfaction ratings around 70%. So that is what this company has done to service their 54 million customer accounts using Kraken's generative AI tool, which is integrated in their platform that will provide emails responses to their customers. Houston, we have a problem. According to Kraken and a recent article from a independent source taken as early as August 6, 2024, where a company that has 54 million people, Kraken's platform is used by them, which is AI, and the name of their service is called Magic, not Airtable. So we have now already found a huge discrepancy that we're going to have to explore. Airtable is not used by Kraken. They use Magic, their own integrated proprietary artificial intelligence platform that services millions. They wouldn't use Airtable, and they would be able to make their own domain name. So now we have to question this image even further. See, once you pull that thread and you identify an issue like a dog on meat, the Underdog Researcher is on it, and I'm going to dig in deeper. Y'all ready to take this forensic journey and cyber journey with me? Let's go. We got more to look at. So now we are going to look at HOPPY, forensic investigation, the domain and subdomain, the evaluation of it. So now that based on that information, this is the question image. What did we find out? We see that the image that was placed online by the poster on HOPPY and on CoinMarketCap shows Kraken asset listing as the name that they customized and via Airtable, which they couldn't change. And Kraken doesn't use Airtable. Problem number one. 2, the no reply plus automation at airtableemail.com is consistent with Airtable, proving it came from Airtable and is not customizable by the person who made it. And Kraken doesn't use Airtable. But let's go further. Let's hear from Kraken. Is this email from Kraken? According to Kraken themselves, I reached out to Kraken and I asked them to send me this information to verify what emails and domains are from them. And I received an answer. This is what they sent me. How to differentiate a Kraken email from a phishing email. Emails from Kraken will always, say it again for the people in the back, have the kraken.com domain name at the end. Check mark. And next, this includes subdomains such as at email.kraken.com. Well, let's go back to this email. Well, I don't see Kraken in the subdomain. I see airtableemail.com, which is consistent with Airtable. And I don't see Kraken in the name other than the person customizing it. What I see is that the person who made this image, as you see here, has the email that appears to be created in Airtable and sent from Airtable to themselves. And so looking at that, we have a serious problem with this particular piece of evidence. We can still go further. There's more to see. There's more to see. Now we know that Kraken says this can't be us, because if it was us, we would not have Airtable. We would have Kraken. And we also have our own software. We need to move to the second part of our investigation, the reply to evaluation. Now, what does that mean for you? So, we already have discovered the first two discrepancies. The names don't match. If the names don't fit, you can't say it's legit. Just like y'all see that? Y'all got that one? Okay, okay. For those who are a little bit younger, you won't get it, but the older folks, y'all get it. So that's what you got there. So we have that piece. And so we're going to go to the next part, which is Kraken reply to evaluation. So let's look at that. So we see the question evidence, which I put here at the top from the email number 5, the image on the question evidence, it shows listing at kraken.com, which is designated as number 5. And Kraken, this is the exemplar. That's the bottom. That's what I compared it to. I wanted to see if that matches what Kraken says is on their list to look at. And listing at kraken.com is their reply to. Now, this was very interesting. Think about it. The person who created this email, now that we know to purport it to be from Kraken, customized it and didn't think anyone would notice these small details. And they made it so specific that they even used the correct reply to, so that anyone looking at it might still think it's legit. But it didn't meet the sniff test because through cyber investigation and forensics, it failed. But it matches. I want you to know that I looked into this to see why that would match, and I found out several different information, such as what were the authorized addresses that are secured from Kraken. And so this is what Kraken sent me, were the only authorized emails that are secured from Kraken. But wait, there's more, folks. There's more. I know you think, well, we've already cracked the case. Yes, we have. But if we're going to do something, we're going to do it right so that you can use this information and share it with others so they can see it too. Because we want to make sure there's no doubt whatsoever. Just like a war, this is a war that you're in. If you're going to set the record completely, make sure you destroy the narrative completely. There is no mercy on real information. So let's get real with it. Here's the problem, folks. It was still a real portion of the email that says listing at kraken.com, even though that didn't appear on the list. According to my conversation with Kraken themselves, their customer service rep, to verify after they looked it up, emails from their listing department would be listing at kraken.com. But wait, there's an answer and a reason. Check this out. According to my research, on October 16th, 2020, we have Kraken security chief warns of token listing scam. Nicholas J. Perocco posted this on the same date, October 16th, 2020. You can go find them online and look this up yourself. It says once the scammers make contact with you, they will follow up with an email. They either request this or already have it from LinkedIn or Telegram. The email will be sent from a Punicode domain that looks somewhat legit. However, note, these are not the Ks in Kraken you're looking for. Listing at kraken.com. Now notice that at the bottom. It looks like a K. Make your screen big right now, folks, so you can see it too. But it is not a K. It's a different type of code that looks like a K. Now, going back to the question evidence, I compared the Ks. But here, it is actually a K that was used by this particular person who made the post. So I want you to understand that's significant. You're thinking that's such a small detail. Why does that matter? Because they wanted to go so far that they even imitated the lettering. Instead of using this Unicode scam, there's matches. So it still looks legit if you look at just that listing. But as we've already started to unravel, there's huge discrepancies. And we're going to go in how and why and what's happened. So we now know that this has some issues already throughout this document. We are breaking down these 8 areas, and number 1 and 2, we found out was not correct. 3, not correct. 4, we found it is correct. And 5, we found out is correct. That's the correct listing name, but it's customizable through Airtable. So we now know a little bit more than what we started with this cyber investigation, but we're just getting started. I hope you're having fun because I'm having fun. We're going to go to the next part of the cyber investigation aspect, the brand indicators and marks evaluation. You see, draw your attention back to the question evidence. Remember, I numbered all these, and number 8 was the brand. Number 8. I'll bring you back to the evidence because I want you to keep going back to remind you. Look at here, folks. I have 8 here numbered on the top left. And on the bottom right, K for Kraken. But is that correct? So we'll find out. So I looked at my comparable evidence. And don't forget, folks, remember I told you about exemplars? That's what you compare it to. The standard to the question evidence. The image that was posted about Hoppy is the question image. And the standard is going to be from my own emails from Kraken. So let's look at those and see what we should see. So here's my comparison. I went back to January of 2023 in this example because I had 22 examples that I could compare it to. And I looked over to the top left, I circled it in green, and I see Kraken, and I don't see an image. So if you look at that, this one has a K, no image. This one has no image, and it says Kraken. So if I stopped right there, nothing looks suspicious or out of the ordinary. Wouldn't you agree? But let's pay a little bit closer attention. What we'll notice before we move on is that if you look at the from, it says no reply at email.kraken.com. That's not Airtable. And that was 2 years ago. Reply to, no reply at marketing.kraken.com. That doesn't say Airtable. And look at the date of this one. This is January 30th of 2023 at 11:22 a.m. And the poster of this one, remember, this was 4:38 on January 3rd of 2025. So if we look at that, we notice that this one was close in proximity of time as well. And this is 2025 here. And so we have a lot of things to look at. So here's the January 30th, 2023. And this one has no mark. So 2 years ago. And this one has no mark 2 years ago. So let's dig a little bit deeper. All right. And by the way, at the bottom, notice that it says mailed by and signed by email at Kraken. But if you remember the email that was posted online, if you just remember for a second what we saw on the right-hand side and the left-hand side, they cut it off. See, they blacked out number 6 so you couldn't see the name, and they cut off the bottom. And why did they do that? Because it would show the Airtable information, likely, right? So that is also something you notice, that we don't see this part because it didn't show it when they showed the image. But let's keep going. So let's talk about brand markings for this investigation, brand indicators and marks. So now we want to go deeper into our cyber investigation. We've compared it to the old and we compared it to the new, and I want to find out about the brand. I don't see it here. And since it wasn't on here in 2023, January the 30th of 2023, I want to see what happens with that. So this is what Kraken says. Brand indicators for message identification, BIMI. BIMI is implemented across all communications from Kraken, and it will be at Kraken addresses. You will notice our logo for Kraken and a blue check mark displayed next to verified emails. Source, Kraken. Now, as you see in their image there, we see a picture of an octopus-like thing, right? Kraken. But the problem is, someone could argue, well, Underdog Researcher, we see here, there's no image, it says K. And you showed us an example in 2023, no image, no K. And that would be a legitimate conversation. So that's why we need to look. My example was from 2 years ago compared to their example, which was supposed to be purported to happen from Kraken on January 3rd, 2025 at 4:38 a.m. and this year. So let's go further. So now that we know that Kraken says that they have these things called brand markings, I want to bring this to your attention. I compared it to a recent email from Kraken and notice the date, January 7th, 2025 at 5:07 a.m. And notice what you see at the top. You see the Kraken logo in purple to the left and a certified mark. And you also see the from doesn't say Airtable. The reply to doesn't say Airtable. We also see the email mailed by. Everything is consistent with what Kraken said. So now we have a problem because the email that we saw that the FUD came from is not verified, nor does it have the security mark, making it an incorrect email being verified from Kraken. But we're still not done because you're going to destroy the narrative. You got to destroy it completely, folks. We have to destroy it completely. So we'll go a step further. Let's talk about this. What if I don't see a blue check mark? According to Kraken itself is the source. Verify the sender's address. Ensure the email is from a legit Kraken.com email address. Be cautious of lookalike domains or subtle misspellings of Kraken. Check your email client. Not all email clients support BIMI or display blue check marks. For example, some versions of email apps may not yet show this feature. Gmail and Outlook are among the clients that support it. And folks, as you see, this is a Gmail account, as I showed you. And so let's see what Gmail has to say about that then. So according to Gmail, what did it say? Gmail says the same thing. Gmail says, learn about verified emails. When you see a blue check mark next to emails in Gmail, it means that the sender has verified that they own the email address and brand logo. BIMI. That's what that means. Two, under the second check mark there in the green, VMC, Verified Mark Certificate, a digital certificate issued by a certificate authority that verifies logo ownership. Verified emails go through Gmail's normal anti-abuse checks. If the emails pass, the sender's verified brand logo is shown. To see which messages are validated through BMI, DMARC, and VMC, look for the blue check mark next to the sender's name. The check mark lets you know that the message is authenticated and authorized to show the logo. And DMARC is Domain-Based Message Authentication Reporting and Conformance, a standard that helps email systems filter and separate real messages from potentially spoofed ones. Well, folks, we didn't heard it from Gmail, we didn't heard it from Kraken, and we didn't heard it from Airtable. That sender of that email could not have been Kraken because the logo didn't come through. It did not have the check marks. And it was from Airtable, which Kraken doesn't use. And both Kraken uses this system and Gmail uses this system. And all of them are ingredients of what it would show. And as you saw here in the image, this one does not have that information. It does not have a check mark. Therefore, we know that is not correct. But I'm going to put it all together, folks. Just like those old crime shows, now I'm going to tell you how they did it. So this is me going over exactly how this was done. Check it out. Okay, let me show you exactly how they did it. This is how they did it. Using their paid account, they created specifically an email to appear to be from Kraken. Once they created that email and they designed it, they went to the next step. They sent themselves an email. And when they sent themselves this automated email, they programmed in who it would be to, from, and how it will reply. At the top, we know it was a paid account because it says via Airtable. And it shows no reply plus automations at airtableemail.com, which matches the email evidence that we're examining. It will show at the bottom sent via automations on Airtable, but in the evidence, they didn't take a screenshot of the bottom and they redacted their name so that to cover that up. Then they sent the email. Once they sent the email, they were able to program exactly the information they wanted to show, as you see there. They sent a test email to themselves, and boom. Now they have an email that you can see there, perfect for their disguise. Now, then the person who's recipient, if you look at the box, they have all this information, attachments they could have, what they say in the body of the email, the subject, who it was to, all that information was handcrafted, specifically typed out, and to have the name Hoppy within the actual end product. They can even attach records. And that is how they sent themselves a spoof email to place online and ask on the social media page, which was circulated so that everyone would believe that a listing was done and rejected on HOPPY. All right. So let's bring it on home. Folks, today, throughout this, we did the investigation and we saw throughout this presentation to you, both forensically and through cyber means, that this was a fake created email, that it was strategically done. And this was on purpose to do nothing else other than change the narrative of this project. But it's more sinister than that. Because here's the thing. What we also noted is that this person who created this, they made sure that they took the time to draft, generate, create, customize, and put into play nothing more than a fabrication. They blacked out their name on 6 that you can see here to make it appear valid. They made it say Kraken assets listings. On a reply to, they used a little known listing that was not known to most people, that made sure that people would reply to that to make it look more legitimate, from listings at kraken.com. They did all of this for one reason and one reason only: to trick you, to deceive you, because they didn't think anyone would research it. It's a meme coin, but I care because someone out there has put their hard-earned cash into something that they believe in, and all they want is a fair shot. And you're not getting a fair shot. And I'm going to tell you why you're not. Let me show you something, folks, as a continuation of this. We have determined, and conclusively, 100% conclusively, that this was a fake email. I have went through everything with a fine-tooth comb and I showed it to you. I laid it out easily to understand. Fake email, fake narrative. The conversation started with Kraken Exchange rejecting HOPPY, but since there was a assumption of an OKX listing because they had HOPPY in a card with the flags and people said OKX, the narrative changed. There used to be this game called telephone, where you whisper in somebody's ear and they whisper in somebody else's ear, and by the time it gets to the end of the chain, the message had changed. That's what we've seen here. And don't get it twisted, folks. This was not a mistake. This was a cyber attack. Information is the new weapon in cyber. Disinformation. This was a cyber attack on this project, and they would have gotten away with it if it hadn't been for the Underdog Research channel. So if you like that type of value, then be a part of this members page so you can get this real research, not the hype, and you can see this stuff and figure it out without being deceived. Now, let's go a little bit further at why this was nefarious and why this was purported against you to be something real when it wasn't. Well, that brings me to this portion of our conversation. FUD analysis. See, I told you that we're going to have a discussion on FUD. And I'm going to have this discussion. And this is one of my premier videos called the Wealth Analysis Research Series. This is WAR, the WAR series on HOPPY. So I want to give you the most. So this is for those who like to go deeper. The reason why I think it's important because we need to engage as a community with knowledge. FUD. This was HOPPY's response. HOPPY, the project, as you can see here, they hid the replies. And I understand. I get it. This was what I told you about in our HOPPY report 4, where they hid the replies. And I showed you earlier in this conversation. And when they hid their replies, they grouped everyone. And the person that they hid was AC12345. And I did black out their information at the time, but I believe that this is a bot account with a real person that's deploying this account. So it can be a bot account reposting things just to damage others. And I looked into this person, but look at this. I want you to notice what they said. You see, that same person, before they posted this message, and it was also hidden by HOPPY, and it says, win tier 1 exchange listings. It only had 18 views before it was blocked. And they tried to post this, and then this was blocked. Now, the reason that that's nefarious because it was this person who showed us this email, which had this blacked out information, and we assumed it could be correct. A lot of people could. And from that, it started a lot of false narratives. But then as we dug deeper into this conversation, we found out it wasn't true. Now, as we go into this, let's talk about this a little bit deeper. Now, Airtable, going back to that conversation, we found out that they could only send emails to verified accounts, and verified accounts that were paid would have the via Airtable tag. And this had that. His message had that, as I showed you earlier. So that means that not only did the person have intent, it was premeditated and it was deployed on the same day that HOPPY listed their announcement about the HOPPY racing. But we'll go even further. They went further and they ensured that a little known fact that a email would come from listing at kraken.com would be placed on that email, and they placed it on the email, which was correct. So they took meticulous steps. And they did all of this, as you see, from 1 to 8, I showed you on the right-hand side and the left-hand side, everything in red was questioned and shown to be false. And the things in yellow, all customizable too. There was nothing real about this. Now, we're going to talk about the FUD. The problem I have with this conversation about FUD, and this is for HOPPY. Someone, I ask you, if you see this, you should tag HOPPY team to come and post this video if they would like to onto their platform. And I'll be happy to make it available for them to post so that more people can see a real investigation and get the truth over the hype. But one of the things that HOPPY team did, which is understandable, but it's still a mistake, is that they also blocked these 10 individuals. And I need to have this conversation with HOPPY about critical versus false and knowing the difference. And this is for everyone, but the HOPPY team, please pay more attention. As we look at information in today's age, we must understand disinformation is a weapon. It is considered a cyber investigation. It's a cyber means to deceive you. So Hoppy had a cyber attack. And Hoppy's response was to block anything critical. Let me show you what they blocked. Hoppy blocked this response. Laugh out loud. This was the major announcement. Hoppy Racing. No wonder this project is bleeding. I can literally make a sticker of any meme project and stick it on my car. Critical, not disinformation. Hoppy Fud. Laugh out loud. This announcement is so weak. This hurt the project more than helps. Getting new exchanges is the only thing that matters, not some dumb blank sticker that maybe 100 people might see. Critical, but not FUD. Replying to Hoppy, why Hoppy Droppy, 28%. Critical, 205 people saw this post before they hit it, but not fake. Would rather get more exchange listings. It's not going to go anywhere if we don't get more listings. Again, critical, but not fake. Laugh out loud. This was a major announcement. No wonder Hoppy is bleeding again. Critical, not fake. This is not the news we were hoping for. Why is it always they build up for my exchanges, but nothing? Your holders care about listings. That's it. Nothing else matters when coins who have been out for a couple of weeks can get a list. Hoppy. What the team doing behind the scenes? Very, very critical, but not fake. Exchanges are what really matters, Hoppy. You've got to do more, so much more. Critical, but not fake. Now, I wanted to share that with you because it's important. Hoppy blocked the first post because they should have already known that that was fake, because they knew if they applied to Kraken and they knew whether or not they were rejected, and all they would have to have done is to address it, but they didn't address it. And by not addressing it, it caused it to blow out of proportion, and it caused this to triculate onto the coin market cap and change to OKX. And then now Hoppy has suffered losses for that. People left the project. People will leave the project until someone disputes that narrative. And that's why I wanted to provide this to you in detail so there will be no question about it. But they also blocked the comments. And of those 10 comments that they blocked and hid, 90% of them were just critical. And we should listen to community members about critical information. Hoppy, you had an opportunity and you should block things that are not in your best interest to a certain degree, but the community and you can do more if we engage by changing their minds through researchable facts and keeping them informed. You got to do more than memes. You got to keep the customer informed, because people obviously are after against you. And let me show you how we know this is true. According to the disinformation, misinformation, and negative impact, I'm going to talk about that. When we look at Hoppy, let me show you the effects that I've already showed you in the Hoppy report. You see, on my very first report, I was able to look at the negative sentiment, what people were saying about Hoppy. And I gave you this graph and I showed you that of all the negative sentiment online on CoinMarketCap, this was the categories the most. No ecosystem, standing still, possible bot activity was 6% of that, lack of progress, unclear vision, and 35.5% were abandoned project. This is an opportunity to flip that 35.5. The other aspects are opportunities for Hoppy community and Hoppy to address it through different approaches. Memes alone are not enough. You have to engage differently, and you have to have a voice and means to do that. So that's why we have to talk about that and have people on your team to assist you in that area. And that's one thing that could be changed. The negative sentiment without the bots was 37.8. So what people see is that overwhelmingly the negative comments is almost 40% of abandoned project, but it's not true. And the things about abandoned project are coming from these false narratives because it's not being addressed. The deployment of that fake narrative, we talked about that. And I showed you at the time, there's only 9 content creators and researchers, including myself. Now I take up 16.3% of all of the content about Hoppy is coming from my site recently. And then you've lost one since then. We have a particular person who just came out, who's on this list, that researched it. And now they say, don't buy Hoppy, buy another project, which is a false narrative they're purporting to you and everybody else. And that's the problem. So we have these issues that you have to resolve by putting forward people who are going to talk about the project fairly. Here's the other issue: the bullish sentiment. Not only did the narrative that this fake listing rejection from Kraken hurt you negatively, but it brought down your numbers positively as a project. See, the bot activity when I first did my research weeks before this was 4.8%. But look at this, folks. Right before Hoppy posted their Hoppy Racing, right as this person posted this onto the site where Hoppy listed their Hoppy Racing, it doubled to 9.1%. That's a 100% gain in bots. If you don't think you're being targeted, then what is? You have 10% of all the comments on CoinMarketCap bots, designed to do nothing else but to drive up your negative sentiment and drive down your positive sentiment, and then make customers leave, where someone handcrafted a whole scheme I showed you in order to make your project go to zero. If you don't think they're your enemy, then who is? Because it's your money. So you need to be careful about sources. And lastly, the Hoppy sentiment analysis: 85% positive sentiment, 9% bot activity, 5% negative. Folks, that was the conclusion of my entire conversation about this subject. I wanted you to see this firsthand so that you could be in a position to win. But I also wanted you to get a comprehensive, the most comprehensive discussion to refute the fake news, the fake evidence, and to bring to your awareness that if you don't realize you're under attack, then you better quickly and get armored and ready for the fight. Because not only are they wanting the Hoppy to fail, they want you to lose your money. Are you going to let them? If you like this type of content, please join this Underdog Research channel, the members platform. I teach you this. I help you from beginning to end, get yourself in a position to win. This is an example of my most detailed, comprehensive war series. This is what I do, and I do it better than most people do, and I help you. I'm not for the projects. I'm for the people in it. And as long as they are doing the right thing and saying the right things and they're being truthful, I'm going to provide you the unbiased research. But what I see happen with this project right now is that you have a problem. You got wolves among you, and you have wolves in your community. And we got fake narratives, fake people, fake projects. But why? Because you are sitting on something that they want, and they want to take it from you. Are you going to let them take it? The choice is yours. Thank you for watching. Share this video. Get it to everyone. Take a screenshot. Put it on CoinMarketCap. Put it on Twitter. Put it on formerly known as X now. Facebook, YouTube. Comments. Share, repost, retweet. Make sure that you fight back with real research over the hype. Well, that's all I have, folks. I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. And we'll go through this again, and I hope that we can go further with other conversations. Remember, there is more to show you. I just showed you a little tip of the iceberg. Until next time, this has been the Underdog Research Channel, Fiercely Hoppy, the forensic investigation of Hoppy. Thank you. Take care.